Welcome to the One Step Ahead series, part storytelling, part podcast, and entirely a celebration. This project is a way to honor the wise beings and medicines that serve us in creating a life that is aligned with the unique beings we are, and the values that connect us to ourselves, to others, to our precious planet, and energies in the universe. You're invited to share in the intimate conversations that arise when we ponder and explore the questions: what does living in alignment feel like? What does it look like? How do we find our way, and who are the guides that can help us discover and deepen our understanding of ourselves? If you're a curious seeker, if you've known that something about your circumstances is not quite the right fit and wondered, what else is there? This is a place to open, expand, and explore. One step ahead of our past, of where we've been, one step closer to where we want to be, where we're meant to be, finding alignment. Always, still, putting one foot in front of the other. I've just had to go ahead and press record because ridiculousness was starting to happen over here.
Yes.
I rolled in feeling as comfy as I possibly could because that felt really good all day. And then I look in the camera and, oh, yeah, no, that's not the vibe we're bringing. We're bringing comfy. We're bringing boobs out in our summer dress. We're bringing a pink t-shirt, cozy cottons. Yeah, we're here for it.
Yes. Yeah.
Welcome. Welcome back to everyone who's been part of the One Step Ahead series so far, and welcome to anyone who's new with us. We are getting together today, just the two of us, to wind down the summer season, season two of 4. We're still aiming to do 4. As we're recording this session, we're also coordinating guests and communications and all the bits in the back for the autumn season. And we're flying a little bit by the seat of our pants today. And we are riding that summer energy. You know, friend, welcome to you as well. We've been in touch in and out over the last number of weeks, always. Ideas. Summer is intense. It feels like it has been a whirlwind of shifting, moving energies, perspectives. Yeah. How have things been going for you, friend, with your summer and having, good cause to play outside with your little one and your puppies?
Honestly, this is the most balance I've felt in summertime. I think I could comfortably say ever, because it's shifted over the years, especially coming into motherhood and managing the summer holidays vibe is a lot. But I've really been able to step back and take some time to recharge when necessary. And I sent an email out to clients recently about it. What I've really observed is this pattern in us when we know summer is coming. Obviously, everyone's excited. And, those of us who are like, okay, well, I have to schedule X holidays in order to really make the most of summer, are packing weekends full, are packing the holidays full, and kind of running on fumes for the rest of the time.
Yeah.
And I was really mindful going into summer that I did not want to do that. So I tried to set up my schedule in a way that allowed for some recovery time and rest. And it's been really nice. Yeah, it feels like I haven't reached a state of like, oh, I'm really close to burnout, but there's been a lot of evenings where I'm just like, I'm not talking to anybody, and I'm just gonna go and snuggle up with my book or read or watch a show and not have guilt about that. That's
Nice.
I've joked about it before. So in the past, I felt like the sun mocks me,
Hmm.
enjoying and soaking up all of her rays. Yeah, so it feels very balanced, even though at times I have been tired, but balanced.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm rolling my shoulders, kind of like giving a big squeeze because it sounds so delicious and so well balanced, and like it's been carefully constructed by the current wisest version of yourself. Like, okay, we've been around for a few summers now and have noticed these patterns, like you say, going to choose to be a little bit more mindful, a little bit strategic, if you will, in this land of entrepreneurship, to be able to really enjoy it and be present for it.
Yes. And I did definitely notice some patterns reemerge, particularly as July, sort of late June, early July came into flow. Because I'm a Cancer, recognize very familiar feeling, this like chaotic, like feeling that I need to sort of reassess my life. And I really connected with my Cancer roots this year and was able to sit in observation of what's actually happening. And I watched a lot of clients go through some big stuff in this period as well. And I don't think it's slowing down, really. The energy is just continuing into Leo season, but it gave me some helpful tools to implement next spring as well, as I will continue to mindfully plan out my summers and allow for time to be completely in flow and in my childlike fun energy.
That is such an integral piece of actually constructing time for flow, right? Especially in a day and age where we really are, so many of us, nurturing the habit and pattern of time blocking. And we can really easily overschedule ourselves.
Such a masculine energy, time blocking.
It is. It is. I struggle with it myself. I have a number of times blocked in my calendar that I usually get a notification that I ignore, and then they pass, and some of them I'll move to the next day. But I really do need to be in flow. I think there's room, though, for me to create a little bit more masculine, feminine energy balance around that, because, like, let's be honest, that masculine energy gets shit done.
Obviously, yes. But
Right.
is it at the cost of your most creative gifts?
And that's where we need to be really, really tuned in. And I think why I am so quick to indulge going with the flow is because when I'm in the flow, even if I move from one task onto another task, onto another task, I'm not into the multitasking. My brain doesn't work that way. But if I allow myself to follow the energetic flow and moments of inspiration, I think there's a lot of that for me as well. Then I can sit and write when the words want to come pouring forth on the page, or I can work on building the website when I'm feeling like I want to solve some challenges. But if I try to work on the website when I really just want to be getting everything out or finding out what's going on inside, then that's a real struggle for me. And by the same token, I know sometimes when I'm writing, I end up writing about all the things I want to be doing elsewhere. But there's a whole process of, great, I can see it now. I can see all of the things that are causing me to feel, in my case, often overwhelmed, which is really challenging when it gets mixed with some excitement, because then I have to sit with, is this anxious? Am I freaked out? What's going on here? And for me, those two, excitement and anxious, can feel really overlapping. But that Cancer energy, I'm curious, I would be very curious to know for how many other people this was the year where they really became aware of what Cancer energy even is, let alone being kind of open to the notion of having a look and really looking at circumstances and choosing to let things fall away that really aren't the things that we want to be carrying forward into our next chapter. And I know for me, it was palpable, is the word that comes to mind. It was in my body, in my heart, in my brain, and I could not ignore it when I started to hear people articulating what was actually going on celestially. Like, the universe is really, I was just riding that wave of, okay, I need to reevaluate some stuff, because I know there are some areas that are not working for me. And if I'm going to try and move forward, I need to be making this mindset switch of, instead of worrying about all of the things that I think I should be doing, I'm going to, as much as I can, embrace being curious about the things I feel called to do.
Mm, so juicy. You spoke to this palpable feeling that something was present that needed to shift.
Mm-hmm.
And I would love if you could share what that was, if you feel called.
I would love to, because it's been really profound, and I haven't paused to savor the heart or the spark that got me going on it, because I've been really focused on what feels like a new direction, and I realize is actually not at all. It relates more closely to my origin story and when I was young. I spoke in actually the last episode with Ellie. We talked a bit about my decision not to return to the good government job. And the quote that my love noticed and really struck him was, I said, I made the decision that I'd rather be broke and not broken.
Ooh.
And so life of an entrepreneur, especially in the early days, there's some hard truths that can go along with that financially. But I have been, well, healthier. And I say healthier because I think it's a result of having so many beautiful tools, not just in my toolbox, but that I've cultivated so that I can really be with myself when things feel sticky and explore what's going on. And I have been aware for quite some time that I have been really struggling with the idea of presenting myself to the people that I enjoy working with most as a trained and experienced instructional designer and online learning expert. That for me has been how I've, aside from being mentally unwell, I've been an instructional designer and project manager. And before that, I was unwell and I was a classroom teacher.
Mm-hmm.
And in between those spaces, I was full on learning. Now, undergrad was a different story because I always had to work through undergrad. That was not negotiable. When I did grad school, I was gifted the opportunity to really just sink into being a student. And I had never felt better in all of the ways, which I didn't use as a clue back then. I just thought, well, of course, you're avoiding the real world. That's where you enjoy to be. If you can escape the real world and hang out there, yeah, it's good. But the truth of it is it was the learning. And I have taken a hard, long look inside and out, backwards and forwards at who am I? What do I value? And this really loops back to a theme that we've had throughout the whole season. But in the last few months, I've gotten a lot clearer on what I value. And I have decided to take a very different approach to being an expert in an entrepreneurial online space. And so I am absolutely a really rock star instructional designer. And I know quite a bit about how adult learners work and options and things we can do using technology. What I don't know as much about is how online course creators are creating and putting out into the world what they're doing. And I've been really bringing a frame of judgment to it, assuming that there's no way it could be good or valuable, or
Mm-hmm.
certainly that my input would make it better and more valuable. And there is truth to that. However, that is not who I am and how I want to present myself in being of service to others. And I haven't been enjoying putting together programs that are like, hey, come join me. I'm going to teach you how to do this properly.
Right.
For a variety of reasons. I love being the learner more than being the teacher. I really love being on stage and having all of the attention, but I more than anything value working in collaboration where I can share my expertise, but there needs to be real buy-in. And yes, this is what I want to do. Here are my ideas so that we can combine those two things. So instead of creating offers, this is a really long-winded answer, and I apologize, but I thank you for listening. I have adjusted course, and instead of focusing on instructional design as what I can bring to the world, I'm focusing on really supporting the people who want to be really tuned into what they're creating, tuned into where that creation is coming from their own heart space.
Mhm.
And for me, the nugget of that comes with writing, which for a long time, decades, I described myself as being a writer who didn't write. And I started to trace the journey back, and all of the work that I've done and all of the education that I've done has provided me with so many opportunities to write with the perception that I'm writing because somebody else says I have to, and they're telling me what I have to write about. But the part of me that was so joyful in those experiences, I think was just really so happy to be writing. It didn't matter what it was, we were just writing. And over the last 14 months or so, I've started to find my writer's voice again. And it feels really good. And I really, really want to do it in community. And I really want to help spark for other writers who don't write or writers who haven't started writing yet, just a space where they can come and just do that. And it's felt so simple that I've been ignoring a call to follow that kind of since the get-go. Like, no, you have to make it complicated.
It's not big enough. Your idea is not big enough, Sheena.
That is exactly right. That is exactly right. So the Cancer energy, I saw that as an opportunity that the universe has this energy. And if I can do some work with it myself right now and say, yes, I'm setting my grip on this and in focusing my attention forward on what really fills me up. And it's words and pens and papers and beautiful books and it's sharing what we're creating with others. And that is so easy. Okay, I'm going to choose what feels easy. Now, the website's still going to be there. All of these other things are still there, but my fuel for taking them on is so much richer when I give myself permission to stop and just write when I need to write. Trust inspiration. I'm not writing anything particular, but I trust one day that there are going to be nuggets that turn into something really cool and beautiful.
Mm, amazing.
Yeah.
I'm excited for you. I mean, since I've known you, writing's been such a huge passion for you. And I still remember connecting over our like multicolored pens that we both
Oh,
like.
yeah.
We have all our colors,
All the colors.
like erasable, not erasable, and like using that to create something beautiful on paper. I'm not nearly as, it's the right word, maybe consistent, I think, as you are. But I think it's a really important space for people because, as you know, the clients I work with, journaling is always one of my top recommendations. There's no better way for you to know yourself, to build self-awareness, to explore emotions and your experiences than actually sitting with them, writing about them, getting it out of the body onto the paper. And you can't do that with a therapist every single day. And you shouldn't be doing that and dumping on your partner or your best friend all the time. It's not healthy for your relationships, but you can utilize this beautiful journal or a piece of paper to help you just drown out the noise.
When you describe it,
Oh,
bless you.
that's me. Thank you.
When you describe it like that, it seems so logical and so easy. And what I've come to realize is it's a very vulnerable space to be because you're only with yourself. And so there can be really brutal honesty that comes out. And almost a sense of once you know it, you can't unknow it. So there's an acknowledgement to what's going on. And often I think those acknowledgements may lead to discomfort. And within that discomfort, we may find things that need to change, areas where we need to change or want to change. We also can see all of the shoulds in our life and have to, with love and curiosity, explore, well, where are those shoulds coming from? Are those my shoulds? Are those shoulds that I heard from somebody else? And the most vulnerable piece for me, for sure, is being present and allowing whatever emotions might come up through that process. And that was a big part of why I stopped writing, was because I would go to my pages and everything would come out and it would hurt like hell sometimes. And part of me figured out, well, if I just don't, then it's easier to tuck it away. It's easier to stuff it down. It's easier to ignore. And then it spirals into what for me has been decades of real challenges with my mental health and trying to find what has worked. But I didn't appreciate that vulnerability that comes through writing on your own with your thoughts, your heart, your spirit, your openness to the downloads to see what comes.
Yeah. And I think what I see is so many people struggling to be in their body,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so when I'm introducing a journaling practice to them, one, building any consistency around it is really challenging. But even knowing what to write, like getting to a place where you can be in the body and tap into what's happening for you is really hard. And what I think is really neat is my observation of the different personalities and the bodies that come to me is I see such a difference between somebody who maybe doesn't present with a lot of mental or physical symptoms, still not tapping into the body at all, not sitting with their thoughts, not just really having so much resistance to going there, to others who really do have a tremendous amount of physical signs being present. Their bodies are at the point where they're speaking very loudly to them.
Mm-hmm.
There's stuff that needs to be expressed, needs to come out, needs to be healed. And I think it just goes to highlight that it's a practice that can help everybody, all types, all people on the spectrum of mental health, or maybe not struggling at all or not even observing anxiety or struggles within the body. Yeah. Yeah.
To be able to do that with the support of someone like a counselor is
Mm.
such a rich opportunity, because once all of this new information becomes evident as a result of writing, there can be also a bit of a sense of isolation. Okay, well, now I know. What do I do with this?
Right.
And as you mentioned earlier, it isn't necessarily, I mean, maybe your challenge is with certain relationships in your life, and so you don't feel that you can have the conversation you might like to have with those people, or you may unload on a friend who's a really great listener, but also tries to give a lot of advice. And so, and I think it just adds complexity. Whereas when you are in an environment where you're supported by someone like yourself who can hear, okay, so what have you noticed? What has come up? And then to have the conversation around that. So there's an opportunity. I know one of the things that you are so skillful at is perspective shifting. So it might come out on the page in this way and it might feel really tangled, but let's have a conversation about it. Let me ask you some questions about it. Let's explore it a little bit together. and then figure out what, if any, next steps there might be. And sometimes there's just this comfort, right? This soothing. Oh, now I do see it a different way. Now it's quiet. Now it's quiet.
Yeah, thank you for that. I appreciate you saying that. I think what came to mind as you were explaining that was the value of maybe not just working one-on-one with somebody who can help you sift through the noise and the stories and the programming and really get to the roots of your challenges, but perhaps you could speak to the value of being in community with your writing program, because I can see so many benefits to that, but I would love to hear your perspective.
One of the things that I think is quite interesting is there are a lot of folks that I've been in conversation with around the idea of writing, and it's very common to hear, "Oh, I really wish I could write more." And it feels like it's writing's at the bottom, buried under this big pile of stuff, and we don't even know what the stuff is that's keeping us from writing. But what we do know is that part of us really wants to be writing because it comes up. And when we're invited to come together in community to do just about anything, there can be a real softening and an easiness around, well, if they're going to do it, I could try it. Or if they're inviting me, I'd really like to participate. And so when some of the stuff on the pile gets cleared away, now all of a sudden we can make it a bit of a priority. But what I love when writing in community is it's sort of like a sisterhood and a circle. We've made the commitment to create this energy together, this creative space. And it's a small commitment, but it's a commitment that we're making, to ourselves, also, though, to the community, because it's a collective energy. And it's wonderful when there's someone providing a little bit of guidance, because sometimes we really don't know what to write. And I've heard, it's good advice, but just sit down and write. I don't know what to write, over and over and over until something else comes up. But sometimes a writing prompt can go a really long way to then just sparking. And even if you just write down the writing prompt over and over again, then some parts of our brain tend to pick up a thread and start running with it.
Beautiful.
So the guidance piece is really good. The last piece that I think is really powerful is also to have the opportunity to practice being vulnerable, practice showing other people how to be brave by sharing some of the really neat stuff that comes out in those writing circles. It's almost like the universe can be aligned. And so often people will leave looking at what they wrote and like, did I write that? Where did that even come from? I didn't even know that that was in me. And they get the opportunity to share it, which can spark inspiration and ideas for others, but it always results in a little bit of celebration. Like, yes, you showed up on the page. Yes, you created something with your words that only you could create. And then on top of that, you were brave and you shared that right off the bat without all the edits, without, getting somebody to proofread it. No, you just said something about this feels really neat to me, and I'm really excited to share it with you. And thank you for receiving it. Like, it's just so good.
I'm excited for you. I think that your community is going to be a really powerful place to express and to show vulnerability. And we've chatted about this before. Like, if you follow Brene Brown's work, we know the opposite of shame is vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
It's like sitting in a place where you can be 100% yourself and trust that the other people aren't going to judge you. You're not going to judge yourself. And I do find that's another reason that people really have so much resistance toward putting their pen to paper, is fear that someone's going to read it.
Absolutely.
Right? Fear that someone's going to read it and judge you horribly. And I don't know about you, I don't generally go back and read a lot of my writing, whether it's my journaling. Sometimes I'll have like a marketing idea and I'll just put it out there, something vulnerable, whatever. And I keep those in a folder in my phone. And I rarely go back and read that shit. One day somebody might read it and judge me, and I'm okay with that. I'm just like, it is what it is. But I think it's taken me a lot of work to get there, to the place where the only person who can truly judge me is myself, my higher power. Yeah.
I've I try to live my life in such a way that if I was ever asked to be accountable for my actions or anything that I've said, that I could do so with confidence. And you hit the nail on the head with the fear that someone's going to read it. There were a couple of instances in my youth where what I wrote was read by people it was not intended for, and I suffered tremendous consequences. And for a time, I would write kind of in code, like people's names always got changed because I thought at the very least, if somebody found it, they wouldn't know who was being written about. They might be able to speculate or make assumptions, but one of the beautiful things of being where I'm at, you know, 30, 40 years later, is I would just say it wasn't fucking meant for you. And if you're going to be all tangled up in that, we need to have a conversation. I would really like to hope that you would trust me, tell you if we needed to have a conversation, we would have a conversation. If I was pissed off in the moment and said something, then please forgive me for that. But those words weren't meant for you. And really defend the right to have that sacred space. I think in this day and age, it's really hard to have privacy really of any kind. And so that's why I say I'm also really blessed in that I don't have a lot of thoughts that may cause harm to others.
What came up is that saying of like, what other people think of you is not your business.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because there's no way of knowing what else was going on in someone's world, the emotions that were present in their body, right? And we need to.
Teenager, like you can't be held accountable for the shit that you say when you're in your angsty emo teen years.
I certainly believe that. Reminder to parents of anyone in their angsty teen years, don't take it personally. But it's so hard. It's so hard. In my case, I made a comment about having participated in something, and I knew that I hadn't done anything terrible. As far as I was concerned, I was still a good girl. Yes, the circumstances might have some grown-ups out, but I knew the truth of it. However, when grown-ups read about it, they came up with all kinds of crazy stories that just set them on a spiral. And so you don't do yourself a service by reading something that wasn't meant for you because you have no idea all of the context that
Yeah.
goes along with it. I can imagine though the temptation has got to be pretty high, especially when we think somebody might be writing about us.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I'm curious whether you've also gone into full creation mode in your other little side project with the writing tools.
I am in the midst of why am I working on a website now, a year and a half into my business, is because I built my strategic learning design website almost a year ago. And it is fantastic and it gets to just stay there so that if people find their way to it, they can still find their way to me, particularly those who are looking for support regarding instructional design and online courses. And thanks to strategic learning design, I've got the time and some tech chops. So I'm working on a new arm of strategic learning design. The Aligned Learning Lab is actually going to be a whole new space. And so that's what I've been working on in addition to the One Step Ahead series, is taking all of the lessons that I have learned from my first time around, and I'm now creating a community learning space. I call it a digital maker space.
Mm.
One of the things that I just love are physical maker spaces, like a great big workshop warehouse, and everybody's got their tools in there, but they're all working at the same time, and the vibe is really high, and it just really celebrates the artistry that's happening. And so that's the space that I'm bringing to life with Aligned Learning Lab. And yes, it's a space for online course creators, and it's a space for people who are working on, I don't even know, whatever projects that they might be trying to accomplish. Writing a book, that might or might not be my dream for next year. And it's through the Aligned Learning Lab that I'm going to be offering. I've got some really great webinars. I know you and I have talked about the Accomplishments Journal. It took me a while, and I am all about it. So I'm offering workshops just around that to help give people another option for writing.
Wait, did you create a accomplishment journal that we can also buy?
It is in the works. It's drafted. It's drafted. So here's the thing about being a solopreneur. I want to do all of the things. And so I love building my books, and I want the digital space so that I can be showing people where to find everything. And so I'm hoping that before we wrap the One Step Ahead 4-part seasons, that the Accomplishments Journal is out there, because it will be such a beautiful tool. And I'm also hosting, it's facilitating groups of writers who want to and are committed to completing Julia Cameron's 12 weeks of the Artist's Way. That was what gave me a breakthrough in early spring of 2023. I didn't know what to do with myself, and the Artist's Way gave me a very clear path to follow for 3 months. And I have been writing virtually every day since. Some days a lot, sometimes a little, sometimes not until just before I go to bed. And there are times where I'll go 5 days, but when I go that long, when I get back to my journal, I write a little apology to my pages. Like, I'm so sorry I've been away, because it genuinely feels like that's where I'm meant to be spending my time. And I just write whatever I feel called to write. You brought up the idea of rereading things that we've written in the past. And I made myself a deal in 2023 that if all I did was show up for myself and write, the business, all of that came secondary. All I had to do was write. And as a result of that, I have filled a number of books, and I know that there's some really great nuggets in there. So before I get too much farther, I'm going to go back and at least do a quick skim and start pulling out the nuggets, because I think that they're going to turn into something really cool next year.
Okay, this just came through, of course. It's like, I envision you taking those nuggets and turning them into either, like, I have these journals, they have the little quote in and around the pages, or even like your own little book of, kind of like Brianna West's, like, The Mountain Is You.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, or young Pueblo, I think is his name. I can picture that. I totally can picture that.
Oh, well, thank you, friend. I love that.
Yeah.
I am open
Maybe
to
we should
whatever
pivot
it's
back
meant to be.
to summer. We should pivot back to the end
We
of summer.
should, because
Wrap up.
all of this is coming about because we were talking about that fiery Cancer energy of acknowledging what's not working and really boldly stepping into where you're feeling called to go. And the only reason I'm able to be doing this is because I've been deliberately moving my body. I take time to lay down and I soften my body. Where am I holding tension? I check in. Are you breathing? How do you know you're still breathing?
Because it's automatic, but yes, I feel you.
Yeah.
Yeah. What also comes to mind is, we've obviously fully now moved into Leo season. And I always will preface with, like, I am not somebody who is well versed in astrology, but I do know that we've also entered a new sort of season if we're looking at the wheel of the year, and that started August 1st. And so I'm not surprised that all of this is really coming to the surface now. I think we can both relate there. We were talking the other day about some stuff that's been percolating for me as well. And I've been really tuned out to any, I don't know, like marketing or like new ideas. I've just been really invested in summer and just focusing on my clients. And that over the next 6 weeks, this is like a planting of all the
Mhm.
seeds that are going to come to fruition that we're going to harvest in the fall. And it sounds like that's very much in line with what you've got going on.
Yeah, it really does feel that way. It feels like there are some loose ends to get tied up in some logistics that are feeling a little bit roadblocky, but as a skilled learner, I know that those roadblocks are simply things I have not learned yet. And it really does feel like we're putting down the seeds. I wanted to call you out a little bit there, friend, because while yes, you've been cultivating a very healthy summer, you have also been open to receiving any insights or downloads, if you will, and having it percolating in the back of your mind too of, okay, well, what are the next steps first that are available to me? Which ones do I now want to entertain, maybe exploring a little bit? And it's been really neat to have these conversations together and see without even making we didn't plan this. No, but when you start to pay attention, you can see how there's this tuning into the energies that are around us. And if we allow it and go with it, some really powerful things are happening.
Honestly, Sheena, I didn't have a choice. The universe was like, oh, you clearly need to just open up the portal and sit in it, because on summer solstice, I was like intense in the energy with like client stuff, with my own stuff. I got home that day after being downtown, which I like protected my energy so much going there, knowing that it was solstice and like I'm going to be in the downtown core. And then I came home and there was this whole situation with crows killing a bird on my lawn. And I had to really sit with that and be like, what the fuck? Like, why my yard? Why now? Like, the timing of it, it was wild. And then I turned 41 on July 21st. So I'm
Mm.
actually like a Cancer Leo cusp. But I was joking with Rhea, the practitioner I've talked to you many times about that I'm working with, like joking that this portal's coming for me because I just had a feeling it was all going to line up. And like, it's a full moon on my 41st birthday. And I got my period the same day. And I was like, what the fuck is happening? So the next day I was
Oh.
camping and I was technology free for 4 days. And I was just like, okay, I'm just going to trust. It's been my sort of theme over the past several months. It's like, I'm just going to trust whatever is meant to come and whatever's meant to progress and grow will do so naturally without me trying to push and push and push. Yeah. Without the should,
Just
I need to,
yes.
that I'm going to compare to that person. I'm just allowing it to flow. And it's been really lovely.
That's a lot. That's a lot. But how exciting for you to surrender into that, because the full moon is going to come whether we force it or not. This, the solstice, all of these forces of nature that are completely beyond our control, and to have four major ones that boom, 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 you would have, well, the universe would have said, good grief, what's it going to take for her to get this? But you got it. And so then the universe was, just sharing a little bit of a laugh.
Well, and it's
Um,
funny because right as we step into solstice, we step into Cancer season. That's like when it all happens. And so I was really trying to sit with and like meditate on, okay, what is this, the death, rebirth, whatever
mhm.
represent? What do I need to clear out? What needs to go? And so that's sort of what I try to concentrate my energy on. And I'll tell you another funny story as we both share our beautiful bloom journals.
Ah,
I sit down to write on my birthday and I get out my journal and I start writing and I go to flip a page and I realized that I've written all of my entry for right before my birthday upside down in two blank pages that just so happened to randomly be between like July 3rd and June 28th. And I was like, what is happening right now? I didn't make sense of it. I don't know.
No.
I just thought it was funny.
Sometimes I think the universe just likes to help us be amused.
Sure. Maybe it was like, clearly you need to be more embodied.
Well, and a bit of a perspective adjustment. Can you look at this from a completely other way around?
I know, I thought it was wild.
I wonder, maybe I have to put a poll at the end of this episode and just ask people, did you meet Cancer season this year? How was that for you?
Or even, did you notice a shift
Mhm,
as we moved into Cancer season? Like, what did it call for you?
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm.
But
Sometimes
what
I
I would
take a
add
drink.
to that was, I do know a lot of people who ignored the call
Mhm.
and got really sick.
Ooh,
Mhm. Yeah.
that is curious
Many
too.
people down with like strange, mysterious flus and COVID and other ailments that I was like, what is happening? It's summertime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Now that you mention it, there are folks in my world as well who haven't been feeling so great. We keep coming back to it. That there's a reason why the seasons are the theme for our seasons, is because the awareness of those energies really is so mighty and it's fascinating. And I
Mhm.
think the more we can tune into those at the same time that we're working, somatically with getting to know our bodies, it just feels so easeful, not easy, but easeful. Like there's more ease in being able to find the flow and to go with the flow, to trust being in the flow.
Mm.
Can be so easy to get tangled up in details. And so as you were describing that, I was thinking about all of the really busy folks who are still just managing to survive, right? I'd really like my life to be different, but fuck off. It's taking everything I've got just to survive right now. And if they're not aware of the energies that can be celestially moving in the world and affecting all of the people around them, then it's got to just feel even more intense. And so we talked at the beginning of the season about the intensity of summer and the fieriness and the need to carve out deliberate opportunities in order to rest and recharge. But there are so many folks who are, where are we going to make this happen? So for anyone who's still listening and maybe thinking, I don't fucking get it, I don't feel these things. Well, you might be, but just not have the opportunity to slow down and get to know it, to meet what's there a little bit, to be curious about it.
Or just trust it.
Oh, friend, enough said.
Yeah.
That's, yeah,
I'm a disbeliever, therefore it doesn't affect me.
yeah. Oh, sweet ones.
Yeah. No, it's not your path this time around. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. And it doesn't make anybody worse or better. Just is.
No,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
I think it makes space for us to understand each other just a little bit better.
Yeah.
Right? And respect what flows for you doesn't flow for me. And we're each on our own journey. And we need all of it. We need all of us and all the perspectives.
Yeah. So I have a few weeks left of summer.
Mm-hmm.
What's your intention for the rest of summer?
My intention is to lay the seeds for that fall harvest. I'm really looking forward to having my time to spend writing and creating books. I say creating books because I have some ideas in mind that are very low content but I think are going to be really exquisite,
Mm.
inspiring. I'm aiming for inspiring. And I've spent a lot of this year feeling like I'm banging my head against a bit of a wall with technology. So I'm looking forward to creating the Aligned Learning Lab space so that it's got what we need to get started, and then trusting that it will grow and evolve as it needs to, instead of trying to do all of the things all at once.
Yes.
So that's a little bit of a
Just
practice.
get started and show up. That's all you need.
Yes, yes,
You
yes.
need one thing that can facilitate a community and perhaps a payment structure if that's what you're working toward, and
Yeah,
just go. Just go.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Cool.
How about you, friend?
Similar-ish, where I am just trying to really be open to what's showing up for me as my path for the fall. Being really strong in holding my energetic boundaries around my schedule for the fall, but also really just trying to soak up the next few weeks, because I have found in the past, right around now, I get the itch.
Hmm.
Or as my old boss used to say, I'm like a thoroughbred and I'm like chomping at the bit to move forward. And so I have the tendency to like look back at the last few weeks of fall and be like, well, you turned on work mode and you didn't really embrace it and enjoy it. And we've had a really busy summer despite all of my time to like rest and recharge. My son and I have been, we're just doing all the things, or he's been doing more things with his dad. And so we're taking the last couple of weeks and really soaking in just the freedom that summer offers. Do you want to go to the park? Sure. Do you want to ride your bike? Okay. You want to have a Super Mario marathon? Perfect.
Yay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being so present with your loves. And anybody who's trying to get anything done in August, there's a good chance that they've encountered slowdowns because so many families, I think, and I know a lot of government workers, they take it really easy in August. And for me, that's a cue to, well, yeah, that's available for you too. I mean, maybe not to the same extent, but I think it's such an important reminder. These warm, long days aren't going to be here for much longer. When you and I have our next conversation, we're going to be, I'm sure, referring to the shorter days and the bit of the dimming of the lights.
I was at the Ball Diamond on Tuesday, and as we were like our last inning, we were out in the field and we are like, wow, it's quite dark already. Yeah. And we start at 6:45 and I was like, okay, slow, it's coming to an end. We gotta soak it up.
Yes, yes. That's something that I could put much more concerted effort into. Today is my first day back after a week-long staycation. And even at the start of the staycation, I said to my love, staycation for me means that I have full opportunity to work on my other projects.
Yeah, to
Which for
purge.
me has been clearing and decluttering, which also feels very much like, truthfully, part of me isn't ready to let go of the Cancer energy and move fully into the Leo. So I think I'm in this little bit of an awkward phase where I don't feel like I'm quite done I got started over there. And so I'm winding those pieces up while also being more focused.
Speaking of that, and I sent a message to somebody today about this. I was informed recently that because of the way the Earth's axis shifts, that the way that astrology has been viewed in the past doesn't actually align anymore. And so I read a message today that said we're actually still, I don't even know what this means. So I was like, we're still 14 degrees in Cancer and we're not.
Okay.
So it was like a whole thing around the Lionsgate portal not being real. And I was like, fuck, my brain hurts. Anyways, so more on that as I try to gain more insight from people who are well versed in the astrology fields.
Yes. Yes. And the more we've been talking about that this week, I realized that I adore a certain particular astrologer who It did not yet show up on our proposed guest list for the remainder of the year. And I'm thinking that I'm going to touch base with her because we've referred to it quite a bit when we're talking about the energies of the seasons. And
ask the question then about this nonsense about,
yeah.
okay, I'm going to send you the message I got.
Okay. Yes, please do. Please do.
Stay tuned. Stay tuned. More on
Yes. I actually really love hearing that because I also felt like I didn't know what was happening for a period of time when we first started moving into Cancer season. And I was actually in a fairly significant low period because I was starting to feel really hopeless and I wasn't enjoying the work and I'm the only one that's in control. And yet I seem to have recreated a lot of the conditions that led to feeling misaligned and unhealthy and unwell. And that's what really made me think, okay, something's not quite right here. But there was this weird energy, I think, of feeling like you need to make a freaking change. And me over here going, but I don't, what do you talk? I don't know I don't know what you mean. And coming through the other side of that, and it would be really funny to have like the snippets because I went from burn it all down. I taking all reference to being an instructional designer off of the internet. I'm reinventing myself and I'm going to try and claim to know a lot about writing. And I felt like a fraud and like, well, who are you? And this is what you know. And why do you think you know that? And over the last 5 weeks or so, I realized, okay, well, first of all, did you forget you were an English teacher? Okay, so yes,
so
I have
writing in that,
never, pardon?
right? Things as an English teacher. What are you talking about?
You forget that you've been writing for as long as you can hold a pen. Do you forget how much it means to you and that you're really just passionate about it and want to share that? And it's beautiful because I'm not out here saying, I'm going to get you published. Work with me and we're going to create your first bestseller. I'm not making any of those claims. I'm over here saying, if you want to write, I'm going to help you find a way to write and you're probably going to really like it. And
Oh,
if you don't, that's
there's your,
okay. You
there's your,
tried it.
it's your slogan right there.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll tune in shortly for the beginning of the fall season.
I know. I
That's
know. Time is flying by. It really, really is. And I would like to acknowledge before we close off today, I think that there's some really magical timing in our recording the closing of our summer season as the Lionsgate portal is opening,
agreed.
right?
It's active.
Yeah. Yeah.
According to
So,
some
pardon?
according to some astrologers.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's been really good to catch up with you. Thank you again, Sabrina, for all of your contributions throughout the summer season. Thank you so much too. We've got a small but wonderful pocket of followers. So thank you to everybody who's been following and welcome to hopefully anybody who decides to follow so you can be sure to catch us when we come back in the autumn season, aiming for launch around the autumn equinox.
Beautiful.
Always
Thank
love that energy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And all the hard work that you put in on bringing this to life.
Oh, thanks, friend. And best wishes. Happy summering. We've still got those few weeks left. Actually, it's even more than that. It's more than that. We're selling ourselves short. I think we've got like 5 weeks left.
I think in mom brain, it's like the Tuesday that the kids are back in school.
I
Summer's
know, right? I know.
again, it's a whole mindset that we could spend a half an hour talking about, but we won't go there right now.
We're going to actually save
Thank you
that
for that
conversation for
reminder.
September.
That's a beautiful reminder for me to not sell summer short. And the days that school's over, we still have ample time
Yes.
to enjoy the sunshine and frolic at the river or the ocean or in the backyard. Yeah.
Those evenings after school when you could take a picnic down to the river and just feel like there's still a little bit of summer lingering.
You betcha.
I am sad to let you go without a whiteboard today. You've
Oh,
switched things up. There's no whiteboard.
Okay, I'll read one I have lots of things on my board.
Okay.
I'll find one that's
Way to
uh,
put her on the spot.
okay, this one is really, I really enjoy this one. I do not need to set myself on fire to keep others warm. Speaks to that people pleaser inside of us that,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And the tendency to catch oneself ablaze and be engulfed without even realizing that it's happening.
Yep.
Yeah, that was powerful. Thank you, friend. Thank you,
You're welcome.
universe, for finding that one for us.
Okay.
Best
Bye.
wishes. Best wishes. I look forward to seeing everyone again soon.